everybody, and welcome to the Open Heart Productions podcast number 6. I'm Drew, and this is Mitch with Open Heart Productions, and we're here today to talk about Open Heart Records and everything in between and leading up to that. So, Mitch, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Open Heart Records?
Well, it was a slow burn. By the time we got done doing the Boo movie, I was and all the drama from all that fell apart. I kind of was very disenfranchised with filmmaking at that point. I kind of had lost my luster for it, and I kind of didn't want to do it anymore.
Right.
So I my first passion has always been music. So I figured now would be a good time to go back and give that another shot.
And actually, how me and you met.
Yeah.
was in music. So.
And so I started doing the Heritage at that point,
right.
Redoing the Heritage, brought
right.
that band back to life, and we did that for a while. And that led into, I was doing that for a while, and I was trying to take it as serious as possible.
Right.
I was thinking to myself, if I'm done with films, let me come back to music and let me give it a real shot,
Right.
I've always taken music very seriously, but I was just if I'm going to do something with myself and make a career with this is the last big shot that I was going to take with it.
Right.
And so I was very serious, and the band The Heritage, we actually played a couple of really big shows during that point, and we actually got a record deal offered to us from Luxor Records.
Hell yeah.
And they just said, all you got to do is just record us an album and send us the stems, and we'll mix it and we'll release it, get y'all on tour, the whole nine. So I was hell bent on getting everybody into the studio so that we could start recording this album for Luxor. And then we had a drummer at the time. It's always the drummers.
Yeah, that was the issue in my band too.
Yeah. He just didn't take it, I guess, as seriously as the rest of us, because it became one of those things that every single time I would ask him, hey, bud, we got to get into the studio, start working on this album. It just seemed like every single time I hit that dude up, let's go work on the album, he always had to work, which I understand the job. The job I understand, but it was always either I got to work, I got to go spend time with my girlfriend, I got a disc golf tournament this week, I got some drunk driving classes that I got to go take, I got this coming. It was just always something. And I could, I could understand work, and I could understand the DUI classes. Those two things I could understand. But because you need to go spend time with your girlfriend and you got a disc golf tournament, I'm trying to get us a fucking record deal here, dude.
Right.
I mean, all those things can wait.
It's a little more serious.
Yeah. And then I started booking tours for the bands because, the Heritage, because that's what I do. I book tours. I book studio time. I'm really good at booking tours. And I would book little weekend tours, and every single weekend tour that I booked, he would always hit me up the week of, or 3 days of, saying, hey man, I'm sorry, I know you told me about this last month, but I gotta go into work this weekend, there's just nothing I could do. Or, oh man, I promised my girlfriend that we would go jerk each other off in the disc golf field.
Time to get a new drummer,
yeah.
Sounds like, yeah.
And every single time he would give me a reason why he couldn't do the little weekend tour, I would give those shows to Jimmy Bryant and Prester John.
Right.
Because their band room was right next to ours. And I was really close with Jimmy because, I was always at the band room. He was always at the band room.
Right.
And so while we were waiting for our bands to practice, we would always hang out, smoke a blunt, and talk, band business. And so whenever all of these tours, I was, it was 4 weekends back to back where he couldn't do a tour, so hey Jimmy, y'all want to go play Hot Springs and Little Rock this weekend? All right, hey Jimmy, y'all want to go play Baton Rouge this weekend? Hey Jimmy, y'all want to go play Jackson this weekend?
Right.
And then finally, about the fourth time, whenever I was giving the shows to Jimmy, I was like, "Hey, Jim, I've been giving all these shows. Is it all right if I go with y'all and play bass with y'all? Because the time Prester John was just a two-piece. It was Jimmy playing guitar and singing, and Maddi McDonald playing drums.
Right.
And so I was like, hey, man, is it cool if I come and play bass with y'all on this weekend get-together? And he's like, hell yeah. So I did, and by the time I got back from that little weekend trip, I just remember thinking, like, it is so much easier being in this band and dealing with these people than it is the Heritage. Because Jimmy was super serious. Maddi, super serious. They treated it like a business. They treated the music like it was a product. And they were willing to put in the time and effort. So I just completely gave up on the Heritage and moved over and started playing with Jimmy and Prester John. And in the beginning, I loved it. Because, like I said, they treated it like a business. Like, I'd get off work at the Dollar Tree at 10 a.m. and I'd ride my bike over to the band rooms, and Jimmy would already be there. And we'd sit down on the computers and we'd do band work, like building emails to submit to record labels, studios, conferences, festivals. We worked on building artwork, set lists. Like, every day was like a serious business, and we worked on it together until about 2 p.m. and then Maddi would show up, and then Maddi would no, it was like 1 p.m. because Maddi would do some work doing merch designs for about an hour, and then we'd practice from 2 until 4, and Jimmy would have to go to work, and me and Maddi would go home. And I really liked that. It was very regimented. It was every single day. And we immediately went into the studio, Music City, recorded an album. Okay. And then immediately at the beginning of 2013, we went on tour and did a tour of the whole South, like all the southern states. It was like it was a 3-week tour. And it was a blast.
So what was your favorite place to play on that tour?
On that tour in particular, it would have to either have been Austin, Texas, or Shreveport on that tour. Okay. Austin, Texas, we did a lot of MDMA and ecstasy at that show, and we shot a music video, and it was a packed house, and the venue tried to screw us over, or they did screw us over. We were guaranteed $150, and whenever I went to get the money from the guy, he handed me a $10 bill and 3 ones, and then turned around like somebody called his name and walked away from me.
What?
And so I just sat there and looked at the $13, and I also was looking at their tip jar that was filled to the brim with money from their busy night that they had that night. Right. So I just let the $13 and took their tip jar and walked out the door, and we drove off and never played Austin ever again after that. Wow. But that tour was a lot of fun, man. Like, Jimmy was awesome. Maddi was cool. Our tour manager, Alex Schulte, had this I call it the Hunter S. Thompson briefcase. Okay. Just filled with all the substances anybody could ever want in there. And we did a lot of drugs on that tour. It was definitely the Motley Crue tour for Prester John. I'd never done so much cocaine in my life. It was so much. But we had a great time. We came back, and our album, we toured a lot and played a lot. Later on in 2013, Brian hit me back up and said that he has a couple of guys that want to do a pilot episode for a TV show, and was wanting to know if I'd help him with it. And I was like, yeah, I could use some extra money right now. I mean, I'm not trying to jump back in this, but I'll come do this, because like I said, I need money. And so I went and I did that. I met David Yelton. He was one of the guys for the Trailer King show. Jeff Jopling worked on that crew as well.
Okay. It's like Jeff's had a lot to do with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Jeff was in the Heritage as well.
Never knew that.
He played guitar in the Heritage. So Jeff Joplin's just kind of been like a orbiting moon, like all around all of my careers ever since starting up.
Okay. Good dude.
He's funny story. This was also, that shoot was the weekend that I found out he was a diabetic, and he's one of those diabetics that if he doesn't get the sugar, he starts acting like he's drunk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, because we all know Jeff's a very like professional and serious dude. You know, like he'll joke around and play around, but he's always like, for us, he's pretty straight edge. You know, and I just remember we were taking lunch, and I looked over there and I saw Jeff skipping down the trailer park like Peter Cottontail with his plate of French fries, sprinkling him off to the side like he's planting the French fries in people's yard. And I look at Brian like, what's up with Jeff? Something's wrong with Jeff. And we went over there, and he was just leaning up against one of the trailers just like he was about to get patted down by the cops. And like, Jeff, are you all right, bud? And once nothing was making sense out of his mouth. Nothing. And I was like, oh, shit. He's having a diabetic incident. So, like, I had to run back to his vehicle and get his little glucose gel out and force it in his fucking mouth. And he came back to normal. But that was the first time I'd ever seen that.
Oh, well. No, I've never seen anybody have that kind of reaction.
Yeah.
Diabetic. That's crazy.
Apparently it's a thing.
All right.
I didn't know that. But we did the little pilot episode. It was over a weekend, and I went back to my life, and everybody else went back to their life. And I thought that was going to be the end of it, but, you know, the story comes back around. I was focusing on Prester John, man, because by the end of 2013, we had gotten signed to TMG Records. They were going to release the album we recorded with Music City the next year. Johnny Redbeard came back for a little bit. We shot a music video, and we were getting ready to go do a even bigger tour summer of 2014, where we did the whole Midwest, and then came back down. And I got married. In May of 2014, and 4 days after I got married, the album came out everywhere. And then me and my wife, we took a trip to California for the honeymoon. And as soon as I came back from that, we jumped in the van and did the Midwest tour. Okay. And that tour is kind of where the band the issues that broke the band up eventually kind of started showing up on that tour. You see, up until that time, I'd been in the band about a year, and you know, Jimmy was always a very positive, upbeat presence. Right. This tour was whenever I started seeing, like, I guess, cracks in that. You know, we all started out the best buddies that we'd always been by the beginning of the tour, and then halfway through the tour, Jimmy like stopped interacting with us. Like, we would go we would show up at a city, and me and the roadie and the drummer would go and explore the city, and he just refused to participate in any of that. He would just go sit in a coffee shop and stay there until it was time to be at the venue, and then show back up, do a sound check, play the show, get in the vehicle, go to the place we were staying. He'd go straight to bed and wake up and repeat. So, yeah, I thought maybe, like, well, we've been traveling a while and touring. Maybe he was just ready to be home. And, you know, like, this does get old, you know, sometimes. So I didn't think anything of it. I figured once we got back from the tour, we would all just kind of like give each other a break for a minute, and after a couple of weeks come back and everything be fine. And apparently while we came back and was doing that break in September and October, Jimmy started recording an album and didn't say anything to me about it. It wasn't until they were like, hey, we've been recording an album, you need to come in and do your bass. I'm like, when did this start, you know? Right. And then it just seemed like that was also the time that I used to meet up with Jimmy at the studio that he worked at. He worked at Tipitina's studio. And I'd sit down and have weekly meetings with him where we talked about what we wanted to do, what we wanted to accomplish, what we wanted to get done during the week. And then I would go out and implement my part of it. And then once I did my part of it and would reach back out to him and ask him if he had done his part, he was like, oh, I completely changed the plan. We're doing this now. I'm like, well, then why didn't you? Like, I was getting less and less information, and everything I was told to do, I would do. And he wouldn't do his side and be like, well, I changed that. We're doing it this way now. And so I was getting frustrated, but at the same time, I'm like, well, it's Jimmy's band, so, you know, he can run it, I guess, how he wants to. I just wish he would communicate.
Right.
So we started working on the second album, Church, and we got all the music recorded, and it was time to just do vocals. And like I said, Jimmy's the vocalist. He's the singer of the band, right? He works at a studio.
Yeah.
He is at a studio
all the time
for 8 hours a day,
right.
5 days a week. And he was like, oh, I'll do the vocals at my studio. And after like a month of me coming in there like at least once a week, hey, you worked on the vocals yet? Oh, no, not yet. I'll do it tonight. Show up the next day. You work on the vocals? Oh, no, man, I haven't done it yet. I'll do it tonight. And it was just that over and over and over. And no vocals were getting done for the record. So me and this other guy who was in the band, Frank, he played percussion and keyboards, and he sang backup vocals. And he sang a lot on tour sometimes.
Frank Harper.
Yeah, Frank Harper. Because there were some shows and some songs where I've never seen a lead singer hate to sing so much. Like, even at live shows, there would be songs that have words, that are recorded with words. And he would just stand there and just play the song and not sing.
Okay.
And whenever that would happen, me and Frank would start singing the songs. So I was like, man, Frank, maybe me and you just need to go up in there in the studio and just start tracking vocals. And maybe Jimmy will see that and be like, oh, I need to get some vocals done, you know?
Right.
So we went in there and we went into his studio. We weren't trying to like hide it from him. We would just show up. Hey, what y'all doing here? Oh, we're going to work on vocals for the new album today. And we'd go in there and we'd do shit. And after about the third day of me and Frank doing that, whenever we came back a few days later, Jimmy now had all the vocals magically recorded for him. And I'm like, oh, so the plan worked, you know. But it was also around this time that he was like, the only people that he was like hanging out with and being friendly with was Frank. That was it. The rest of us, like, he was not, like, he treated all of us like we were an annoyance to him. But once again, I'm just trying to get past it, because we were making some really good music and we'd already toured the country. We had a record deal. We had multiple music videos. Like, this was the closest that I'd ever made it with a band before.
Right.
You know, like, we were playing like New York and Chicago and DC and all these places, and like people liked us and like the name was spreading. So I'm just like, you know, all I gotta do is just wait this out, work it out, you know. And so we finished the album early 2015, and then through March and April in 15 we went back on tour. Did the East Coast, came back down through the Midwest, and that was the tour that I knew something was terribly wrong. We were a 5-piece at that point. Me, Jimmy, Maddi was still there, Frank doing his thing, and Chris Robinson had come and played second guitar. And because Chris also ended up recording at least 3 or 4 songs of guitar without Jimmy on it whatsoever. Like, it was even a hard time to get Jimmy to record his instrument, unless it was the violin. Right. If he could play the violin, he'd get on there and shred that motherfucker. But then it's like, all right, you gonna lay down guitar? Oh no, I'm gonna get something else. And but that tour, I had mentioned that the previous one, Jimmy stopped interacting with people. This tour was like that the whole time, and it got even worse because he would not interact with anybody during the rides. He would not hang out with us while we were exploring the city or in the music venue. And whenever we would go to our hotel or the place we were crashing or somebody's house, he wouldn't even sleep in there with us. He slept in the vehicle that whole tour.
Wow.
Even if we had a room, even if everybody comfortably slept, no, he wanted to sleep away from everybody in the vehicle. And we came back from that tour and started working on another album again. But if we thought we had a hard time getting Jimmy to do something for the previous album, it was damn near an impossibility. I think on that whole album of 9 songs, Jimmy did 1 guitar track and did 1 violin track and did 1 vocal track. And me and Chris and Frank did everything else. And while we're working on this album, I'm working on booking more tour dates for 2016 for the new album. This led all the way in until about March 2016, where we had finished the album. We finished the album with, like, I think Jimmy sang on 1 song, and the rest of it was me and Frank. And Jimmy, like I said, was 1 guitar track on 1 song and a violin track, and that was it. And in March, that's whenever of 2016, Jimmy like officially hit us up and said, listen, I have no more interest in doing Prester John anymore. Y'all can do whatever y'all want with it, but I'm not doing it anymore. And he ended up starting a band called Stoner Pop with his girlfriend, which I remember that. I don't even know if that ever did anything or not, but I know that's what he was doing for a while. So talked to the rest of the guys, and I was like, all right, guys, so here's the thing. I already have a bunch of tour dates booked. We got this album that's done. Let's release the album. Let's go do this tour, and then after that's done, we can either break the band up or form another band. And they were like, well, how about we just form the new band now, call the new album from that band, and go do that tour as the other band. And I was like, all right, I'm down with that idea, but there's a lot of stuff that we need, that especially whenever I hit up these venues and say I got to change the bands around, they're going to want information. Right. You know, I was like, well, all right, we need a band name, we need a band photo, we need a band bio, we need merch, we need a website or at least a social media account. You know, we need all this, this, and this. And I was like, if y'all can handle that, if y'all can get that done in the next month or 2, then all right, let's do it. And after 6 weeks, I said, 2 months. If y'all can get that to me in 2 months, that gives me plenty of time to hit up the venues and switch it all over. Right. So 2 months, 6 weeks later, I talked to the guys, and they hadn't started anything. Oh, wow. Nothing. Didn't even have a band name yet. And I was just like, okay then, obviously if you aren't going to take this seriously, I've had 6 weeks. Oh, I've had this, and this come up. I don't accept that from people. When they say, oh, I had so much stuff come up. 6 weeks you didn't have, 6 weeks you had no time in 6 weeks to get on the computer and do an hour's worth of work. I know how long this shit takes. Right. You know, and so I was just like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with all of this. I'm fucking over it. And so I left. And around this time also, and which I thought was very crazy, was after I quit Prester John, Jimmy hit me back up a month later wanting to know if I wanted to come play bass in his other band, Voodoo Trees. And my idiot self said yes. And I went and I did some practices, a couple of live recordings, a couple of shows, and Jimmy's attitude was like it was at the beginning of Prester John. Like, all of his attitude was gone. It was back to normal. So I'm like, all right, cool, great. And I had every intention of continuing on with them. But then at the end of that year, of 16, something really shitty happened to me around October. It was 100% my fault. But I forgot to re-up with my insurance through my work. So I had a wife and I had a 1 year, not even, I think Harrison was born in the summer of 15. So yeah, he was like a year old, maybe, a year and 6 months. And so I had these people that I had to take care of, and now I don't have insurance for them. So I had to find a way to supplement the income for insurance. So that's whenever I started doing the Mitch Lang band, where I would, you know how it is in this town, there's no place to play unless you're a cover band,
right?
And there are plenty of places to play.
It didn't used to be that way.
Like there were plenty of there are all restaurants, like
Right,
restaurants and patios and like coffee shops where it's just enough space for you and an acoustic guitar to go in there and play by yourself and be background music turned down. And I started going and doing that. I can't nobody tell me I ain't never tried to be a part of the system in Monroe, because 16 and 17 I was up in it doing it by their rules.
Yeah, I've done it myself. I've done a few covers.
And that helped supplement things. And then Jerry and Erica from Green Jello hit me up.
Okay.
I met them while Prester John was out touring. We met and made friends and kept in touch. And I was bitching at Jerry because I had this tour that I'd booked in 16, and I had all these plans, and now my name just ran through the mud because I had to cancel them all. And I really wanted to go tour. And he's like, "Well, man, come play bass with us and go tour with us. We got a couple of tours coming up. We need a bassist, man.
Okay.
Get up on it." And that's what I did the rest of 16 and the first half of 17.
It's pretty awesome accomplishment there, getting to play with Green Jelly.
Yeah.
Just saying. Because I remember back in Whiskey Bayou where we used to play one of their songs, in Whiskey Bayou because of that.
I think we talked about this.
Did we?
No.
Oh, okay.
The one song that I have played more live than any other song is Three Little Pigs by Green Jello.
Right.
We used to cover it. My other bands covered it. I still play it from time to time, and I got to go play with the band and perform it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And while I was on tour with them, I get a phone call out of the blue, and it's David Yelton from Trailer Kings, and he hits me up and is like, "Hey man, we got a new show, and we got about 5 episodes filmed, and we need somebody just to edit the episodes." And I'm like, "All right, cool. Let's do this, I guess." And so they were offering me like $500 to edit an episode, and they said they had 5 episodes and they wanted to do 10 a season. So I'm like, "Oh, I could use that money, it's almost $5,000 right there."
Exactly.
So the funny thing was before that happened, while I was out doing all the porch playing, I had got a bunch of old songs that I had recorded that had never gotten released and put like a 10-song album together, and then named it Worst Case Scenario.
All right.
And that's whenever I officially opened Open Heart Records, because I had been with a record label with TMG, and I saw how they did their finances and the way they split up the money, and artists get next to nothing. So I figured if I started my own record label, then I would get all of that, and I could do with it as I wished. So while I was, being one of the porch players and touring with Green Jello and Monkey Soup and Helgrim and all them, I was doing Open Heart Records officially and released that album there. And I think we ended up releasing a couple albums with some other bands, just because they wanted, an outlet, and I was willing to be that outlet. But that does lead us all the way up to the stuff with David in 2017 with not Trailer Kings, with Rednecks for Hire. But that is a story for another day.
Yeah, and just so you know, that's a reality show that Mitch was a part of. And another thing that you should know is reality is not really reality.
Mm-mm.
Not on those kind of things.
No, it is not.
But well, I mean, it's been great to talk about Open Heart Records. You guys stay tuned for episode number 7, where we'll be talking about Rednecks for Hire
in depth.
Reality. You can always check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, TikTok, all that good stuff. We'll see you next time.